So it's been a little while since I've done a Funko review of any kind. I think the last thing that I did was the Savage World Thundercats, and even before then, I think it'd been a really long time. There just hasn't been a great deal of stuff that I've really wanted to get a hold of lately, and I said if I found these in store that I would buy them, otherwise I was just going to pass them up, and I finally came across them. So today we're taking a look at two figures from the recent Mega Man line that Funko started. We're taking a look at the Blue Bomber himself and Dr. Wily. So these are the only two that I've really had much interest in. There is a Chase figure, which frankly, it makes me want to get it, but at the same time, it's just a Mega Man recolor. So I do have some passing interest in this line, but maybe not for completionist's sake. These guys come on pretty nice card backs, all things considered. We've got them here in kind of a standard blister card with some vintage sprites on the background there. You've got Mega Man in the bubble, Wily in the bubble, and then the back of the packaging has got some classic Mega Man sprites running across the top with cross-sell for other figures in the wave. But not any actual product shots. These are all renders, which is kind of weird. But either way, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here they are out of their packages, our Mega Man and our Dr. Wily. And these guys are all right. I definitely have to, preface this review by saying that if you're going into these figures thinking that you're getting hyper-articulated, collector-grade action figures, you're going at them in the wrong aspect. These guys are toys. They just happen to be action figures, so they are meant to be played with in some fashion. Sure, they definitely are things that collectors might be interested in, but they aren't on par with anything you buy, Marvel Legends or Black Series or anything like that. They do have some articulation. Mostly for me, it's all about the look, and I think for the most part, these figures have that look down pretty well. They are very video game centric while also being kind of cartoony, Mega Man in particular, and frankly that just does it for me. So we're going to take a look at each one individually because they are different obviously in very many ways, and we're going to start with Dr. Wily, see how this guy moves around, and then just take a look at his overall details. So as far as articulation for our evil doctor here, he is articulated, like I've mentioned. He doesn't really have a lot of dynamic movement though. You can't really do a great deal with this figure, and it's frankly just because of his overall sculpt. A lot of him is restricted just because of his, kind of large features here, especially this head. So the head does rotate, but it can't really do much beyond that. It has a little movement up and down, but frankly, he's just going to be stuck that way forever, really. And then you can just swivel side to side. Arms go out, they rotate. You do have single hinges at the elbow, and one thing to note is that the joints on both of these figures, not all of, both of, they're really, really tight. I've had issues moving around joints on both figures, not in a sense that, it's really a problem, it's just something to keep note. And then he has rotating wrists. He doesn't have anything at the waist. Legs can go out a little bit. You do have the lab coat to contend with. They kick forward and they kick back a little as well. He has single jointed knees, and these are really, really tough. Look how thick that joint is. It's just humongous. So there's a lot of plastic there that you have to move. They're just really, really tight. And then there's nothing down at the ankle. You have no hinges, no rotation, nothing. If you want to rotate in at that thigh. So he's just basically going to stand there. Maybe have him, kind of do something like this or do something like this. He's going to be more expressive with his arms and his head. You're not really going to get him into too many crazy dynamic poses from the waist down, but at the end of the day, it's Dr. Wily. What were you expecting? As I mentioned, though, my main emphasis for these figures is their look, and really, Dr. Wily is the one that I wanted the most, and that's kind of weird to say because it's a Mega Man line, and you got to get Mega Man, of course, but frankly, knowing Funko and what they do, I wouldn't have been surprised if they just gave us 5 different Mega Man figures, all different colors, same sculpt, and just, called it a day. Instead, we have a 100% unique sculpt Dr. Wily figure, which frankly looks very much like his video game and, video game art style counterpart. And frankly, I'm really happy with the way it looks. That is not to say that he's perfect. He definitely isn't. He does have some paint slop here and there. And it's kind of the thing, at least in my experience with Funko lately, is that their paint QC is a little lacking. Mostly in the facial features, you've got like some bleeding on the eyes. And frankly, it's kind of an odd color. It's a little yellow, and I'm not sure why that's even up there. I think it's on the top of the cheekbones, and it just sort of bleeds off. We've also got some nicks on the mustache and on the teeth. But overall, it's certainly not bad. His lab coat is a rubbery material. You've got these big kind of cartoony hands. Of course, the head is the most cartoony, and it just looks great. The hair popping out of the sides of the head there. You've got the pants. You've got the little tie here. In general, I think he very much looks the part. He isn't overly articulated, and he definitely has some paint imperfections here and there, but in terms of the look, it's hard to say that they didn't get it right with this figure. Now for the Blue Bomber himself, Funko did give him slightly more articulation, and frankly, I would have been surprised if they didn't because he definitely needs it. He still has some of the same issues that Dr. Wily has with some really stiff joints, but they're not as bad because the actual body parts aren't nearly as thick. So you've got a head that's on a humongous ball, so you can look up, and you can see just hear how tight it is. Kind of creaks. He goes down, up, bobble side to side, full rotation. The arms rotate. They go out. You've got a single jointed hinge, and you have to watch how you hinge them because there is a cut on his gauntlets that allow the joint to move forward. If you don't, he can't move his hands. So you just have to make sure they're lined up. There is a waist twist. Legs go out slightly. They kick forward a little bit and they kick back. There's just a ball peg in there. And then you've got a single jointed knee. It's pretty tight. I'd say that's the tightest joint on this figure. It's not bad though. Just I've been concerned that I'm going to snap the peg, but it hasn't actually happened. So you've got that. And then you've got a rotating wrist on his right hand. You can rotate the Buster Cannon, but then you can't hinge it up. So make sure you, again, line that up. And then you've got ball hinges at the feet. So he kicks forward and backward, rock side to side, and a little bit of rotation. That said, he is stuck within the confines of his big cuffs down there on his legs, but you can get him to be posed at least halfway dynamically. He certainly has more articulation than Dr. Wily, and I think they did a pretty good job with it in this scale at this price point. Now, as far as how Mega Man looks, I'm really happy with it. Frankly, this looks very much like his video game art style counterpart. More cartoony, obviously, especially in those eyes. They're big and bright. You know, big, bright anime style eyes, basically. This guy doesn't have a great deal of paint on him, though. It may not seem obvious at first, but a lot of this figure, I'd say 90% of him, is molded plastic. So you've got molded plastic on the Buster Cannon with paint accents for the energy gauge, which is honestly kind of sloppy. You've got some red on the inside of the cannon. You've got red on the soles of the feet. The rest of the body, though, is all molded plastic. And then you've got some paint on the head up here. It's pretty decent. It's all got kind of a matte finish, which, again, works for this kind of video game comic art style. And I just like the figure. He is pretty small. You know, here he is with Dr. Wily. So you can see he's about 4-ish inches and Dr. Wily's about 4.5. And then just for, you know, scale's sake, here is a Marvel Legends, the one that I just keep using over and over and over again. So here's Genus Vell, and you can see, you know, his head's even out of frame. They're that small. So they go up to about his chest at most. So they're pretty small, which is fine because they're, you know, sort of in scale with each other, and then they're sort of in scale with other figures. They're not 100% by any means, but they're sort of there, and you can kind of fudge it and make it work with some other figures if you're going for, I don't know, maybe a Smash display or a Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that. Now, the one area where Mega Man truly differs from Dr. Wily is that he comes with accessories. Frankly, they aren't the most exciting accessories because one of them I fear I would never use, and I think most people wouldn't use it, but he does come with extra hands. So you can pop the Buster Cannon off, and you can pop the fist off on the right hand, and you can swap things out. So you've got an entire extra arm, so you have to pop the forearm off on the left side, and you can replace it with a forearm with a closed fist, and then you can pull the hand off on the right side, and you can put a open palm style posed hand on the left. You can't really get him to do anything like, you know, like the quintessential Mega Man pose where he's kind of standing back and he's holding the Buster Cannon with his right hand. That's not possible by any means with this figure. At least I can't get it to work. If someone has, feel free to let me know. But I do like the fact that he comes with these accessories. I mean, at the end of the day, I would have loved to have gotten like a charge shot or something like that. But again, within the confines of this line and the price point, this is probably the best they can do. And at the end of the day, I always am up for the inclusions. Regardless of whether I'm going to use them or not, someone out there is definitely going to make use of these accessories, and they work just fine. So at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with these two. I don't think by any means that we're going to get a very wide array of figures in this line, and I'm also not investing in it very much either. If they give me a Dr. Light and maybe a Proto Man or something like that, I would be happy, but I'm not going down the road of 100 different colored Mega Men. I do think that they're pretty cool little figures. They certainly aren't collector grade by any means, but they're not trying to be, so I'm not going to put them to such rigorous standards. They move around well enough. They have a nice cartoony style, which really does it for me personally. They do have a little paint slop here and there. Nothing too crazy, certainly nothing to get up in arms about. If you like Mega Man stuff, you don't really have too many options, especially at the $10 price point, so they might be worth checking out for you. So that's going to do it for this look at the Funko Mega Man and Dr. Wily figures. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.